Hello everyone, welcome back to ByteRipple. Today we are going to be talking about HTML attributes, understanding HTML attributes by adding extra information to elements. In this lesson, we will be learning HTML attributes, which, as I've mentioned earlier, add extra information and functionality to our elements. What is an HTML attribute? An HTML attribute provides additional information about an element. That is, when you create an element in your HTML document, for you to be able to have extra layer of information, we use the attributes. So attributes are always included in the opening tag and are usually given name or value pairs. Like when you have an element with name, we also with a value. So from example here, we see that the anchor tag has an href element, an href name with a value of a URL. So with this, we are able to give an extra information to the anchor tag, so that by clicking on this particular element, we are redirected to W3 School webpage or ByteRipple webpage, depending on the URL used as the value. What are the basic HTML attributes syntax? So the basic syntax for an HTML attributes formally will look like this. So we always have like a tag name followed by an attribute. So the tag name could be maybe a p tag, an h1 tag, or paragraph tag, or heading tag, or any other tag that we want to use to structure our HTML document. So we have the attribute, okay, as I've shown earlier, and we have the value, and we have the content in between it. So for example, we have like an anchor tag, as I mentioned earlier. Here we have the anchor tag, the tag name, which is the A, and the href, which is the attribute name, and we have the URL, which is the attribute value, and the content in between it is visit ByteRipple. So here we see that the anchor tag is the element, while the href is the attribute name, and the URL is the value. So this is what makes up an HTML attribute. So with this, we are able to add additional information, and it enables our element or our tag to do an extra activity or an extra function. So what are the common HTML attributes we have? So here are some common HTML attributes you will probably find working with. So we have the href, which uses the anchor tag. We have the src, which is the source, and we use it in images in image tags to include image source. So we also have the alt, which is the alternative that provides image tags for alternative text when the image can't be loaded. I think I've mentioned this in a previous video where we have we have like an image on our website, and we add like the alt attribute to the image just in case the image is not showing on the website in a situation whereby there is a broken link, or we are the image is unable to work or be loaded. We also have the styling, and this allows us to add inline CSS styles, which I believe we'll be working on very soon. So we have the title that display extra information when we over the elements. So these are some of the common HTML attributes you will continue to see as you work with as you continue your web development journey. So some of the examples with multiple HTML attributes are the image tag, the img tag, having the source. Remember, the source here is the word, is the attribute name, and the, for instance, we have coda.png is the what is the value, and we also have the auth, which is the attribute name, and the value to be a web developer coding. And we have a style, a simple style, an inline styling of the style, the CSS style tag as the attribute name, and we have the value to be, we are setting this particular image to a width of 200 pixels. So on our website or on our web page, the image will be displayed in this width size of 200 pixels. Don't bother yourself about this. By the time we start working on styling, you will learn more about it. So in this case, we see that the src specifies where the image file is, that is the source of the image, either as an internal file or as an external file. We will talk more about that in the future. We also see the auth name, attribute name, to be describing the image, just in case it doesn't load or there is a broken link, as I've mentioned earlier. We have the style that lets us set the image width directly in the tag. So these are common or examples of multiple attributes. So we can have multiple attributes in a single element. That's just the point. You might have an element and you want that particular element to do different things or to have different functions on your web page. So by using attributes, you are able to do those different activities or functions. So now we are going to be moving into the practical section of this lesson. So we'll be creating an image tag, and we'll be adding some src and auth or alternative attributes. So we include also an anchor tag with the href attribute to our favorite or your favorite websites or any particular URL you want to add as a value to the attribute. So we create a paragraph also with a title attribute to review a tooltip or over. So the tooltip or the title attribute simply is like when you are, I don't know if you remember the first lesson we had, I told you something about whenever you want to know or you want to recognize a particular icon on the website, you simply have to hover on that particular icon and you will see the name written. So this is what the title attribute does. So it enables you to give a name or a description to a particular HTML element or tag. So let's go on to work on to do some practicals, get our hands dirty, so we get to understand better what HTML attributes are all about. Now I'm on my screen. As usual, you should drag the lesson 1 folder and put it into your VS Code and it will open up. So this is where we left. So we are picking up from where we left. Yeah, the last time we talked about HTML elements, and here we have our previous code. But today we'll be diving into HTML attributes. Was to create an HTML attribute using different HTML elements. Okay, so we'll be looking into creating an HTML attribute with the tag, with the img tag. We'll be creating an HTML attribute with the anchor tag and also the p tag. So let's start with the img tag. So starting off, we open, then we write img, which is the tag name. Then we have the src, which is the source and the name of the attributes. Now we need to add a value. So if we are starting with a single attribute, here we might not, if we are starting with a single attribute, we might not want to add any other thing. And always remember that the img tag is a self-closing tag, so you do not need to create like a closing tag for it. It's self-closing. But in this case, we don't have like an internal source or an internal image in our project here. As you can see, we only have two files here, the index.html and the element.html. There are not any external file, but just in case we want to add an external file, it's just a matter of, let me see, I will open up a folder here. Then I will simply open up an image file so that we can drag and drop an image from this folder. So I will drag this image here and drop it in this space area. So now we have an image here, which is, I'm going to rename it to something meaningful. So I will say Simon. Then we go back to our element.html, or if we go back to our element.html. Now we want to be able to import this image here, which is the simon.jpg. So what we need to do is, so there are two paths that we will be using to have access to the internal file, which are the relative path and the absolute path. So the relative path points to a file resource based on the current location in the file structure or the file tree, just like we have the element.html, index.html, and the simon.jpg. So while an absolute path gives the full location of the file, either from the root of the file system. So to work with any URL for the relative path, you simply click a dot, then a /. So as you can see, the moment I put the /, you will see that we have a list of the files within our file tree, which is the element.html, index.html, and simon.html. So, but in this case, we are using just simon.html, which is the image, documents or the image URL. So now we remember we talked about the alternative, which is the alt. Okay, the alternative. So we said that just in case the image doesn't appear on the web page due to some, maybe like there's a break in the link, okay, or there's an issue with the website. So this is what is going to be showing on the website. I think I showed this in our last class, even though we didn't talk much about it. So let's say, just like we have it there, we say this img or image cannot be found. Okay, just in case this URL has an issue, this is what you are going to say. Okay, so this is for the img tag or elements attributes. So remember, we also talked about multiple attributes within a single element or within a single tag. So here we already have two attributes, which is the source, the src, and the alt. So now if we add the style to it, Then you see now that we have the style, and the style has its own, the style name, okay, and we have the style value. So the value now is either we are reducing the width of this image, because by the time we open this on the browser, you see the image will be so large that it doesn't look good. So for instance, if we want to reduce the size, just for practical sake, let's say we want to reduce the size to, we want to reduce the width to maybe like something like 100 pixels. So the pixels is used to identify, or to as a unit that we use in HTML or in CSS styling to enable us reduce or maximize the size of an element. I don't know why this is, but let's redo it. So now we have the style, then we have the value. The value will be, let's say, the width, and we want the width to be let's say 100 pixels, I think. I think the other time. So I think this will be a comma. I don't know why it's so. But in any case, this is going to give us a width of 100 pixels, that is to reduce the width of the image. Okay, so that's for the p tag. So let's look at the that's for the img tag. Let's look at the p tag. So the p tag here, we could have the p tag and we could give it title. Okay, we could say the title should be paragraph attribute. Paragraph attributes. Attributes. Okay, and within it we have the content to be, this is the paragraph attributes. Okay, I have my IntelliSense, that's why you could see that there is like an auto completion while I'm doing the coding, so while I'm writing my program. This is for the p tag. Okay, so if we have the anchor tag, which is the a tag, so remember I said that we have the a tag to be we use it to link between web pages, or we use it to link to another web page. So we could say this anchor tag, let me say click me as the contents. Okay, then within it we will add a URL. Let's say we are adding a URL of a website. Let me check. Let's add a URL of a website to it. I think there was one, but let me open my browser here to add a URL of, okay, let me add a URL of my website to it. I don't know, it's taking time, but we're almost there. Okay, so let's add this URL to it, and we add it there. That's it. So now we have an external URL that will link us to a particular website, but this is just for practical sake. You could add any URL you want to your anchor tag while you are taking up the challenge. So with this, we have the anchor tag here, and we can click on this particular link, this particular element on our web page, then it will lead us to a new page or a new website. So we've done the image, we've done the anchor tag, and we have done the paragraph. So let's test this particular project. So let me add a comment here so that it is distinguishable that we are talking about HTML attributes. so that this way you document your program and it's different from other programs. So here let's say it is HTML elements. Okay, so now let's open this on our browser to see the results. So now you could see that we have the image showing on our browser, likewise the paragraph section, and we can see that we have that we have paragraph attributes as the description of this particular paragraph, and we have the click me link that we added. So if I click this link now, it will take me to my website. So on click, it should redirect us to my website, and this is my own website here. So, and if we go back, we will also see that we are now back to that particular page. Okay, to bring us back to that particular page we were before. So this is what we use the HTML attribute to achieve, and there are more that we are still going to learn, but for now this is just the idea of what the HTML attribute is all about. So in our next lesson, we are going to be talking about something more interesting, and we will see how we are able to achieve that. So before we go, I also have a challenge for you. So, and the challenge is to do this. You also try to create an image tag, add the anchor tag to it, so, and add a URL as an attribute. Okay, add an image internal source file into your image tag, so that you'll be able to have, just like the way I did it, you'll be able to have your image displayed on the web page. And the paragraph, like I did, add a title attribute to it and add a description to it as well. And make sure to post a screenshot of your code snippet in the comments. So this brings us to the end of this lesson for today. So here we have been able to learn about HTML attributes and how they add extra functionality to our web pages. So now you can enhance your elements with valuable information to improve the user experience. Keep practicing and have a wonderful day. Always remember, one step at a time. God bless.